My name is Maris Batash, also known as Maz. I'm 25 years old, born in Algeria, raised in London, and I'm the head coach of Rising Waters FC. Football's been a huge part of my family. My dad was a pro player back home in Algeria. He moved over to London. I started football at the age of 3. My first team was actual soccer. I was at the age of 6. When I was 8 years old, I moved on to Westway and I was part of their development program. I was there for a week and a half and I got picked up by Fulham Football Club. I went on the 6-week trial period, which I done very, very well in. But they made their final decision 2.5 weeks in that they wanted to sign me. And to be fair, I'll never forget the feeling afterwards. Me and my dad in the car park, the big kiss that he gave me on my cheek, because he knew that, his son's an academy footballer now, and that's where the journey started. I was with Fulham, growing through the youth ranks, playing my football, enjoying it. I was a central midfielder from young. I knew I wanted the ball at my feet. I wanted to control games. At the age of 14, I was lucky enough to play an age group above with the under-15s. This was something good for me because from a young age, I always wasn't the biggest of players. And when it came to under-15s, I was lucky enough to play under-16s, so an age group above again. I put my head down, I carried on playing, and that's when I got offered a scholarship with Fulham Football Club. So from the age of 16 to 18, I was studying at the club, I was training every day at the club, having the opportunity to train with the reserves, sometimes with the first team if needed. As part of my first year scholarship, I found it very difficult to break into the team, but slowly, there were a few under 17 games that I was selected to play for. I just kept on scoring goals. I was scoring goals, I was putting in assists week in, week out. Just try to create a buzz around my name, which thankfully I did. And that's when the Algerian national team came in. And then from then onwards, every season I would have been called up by the national team. That was a very big highlight in my career. When second year scholar came through, that's when I really cemented my place in the team. Applying hard work every day, that's what my dad taught me. I came from nothing. At the time, Roy Hodgson was manager, and he loved me to bits. We had very good conversations with, and it looked promising in terms of a professional deal. Unfortunately, he left, and it's part of football. Like I said before, some managers like you, some managers don't. Martin Jol came in from Tottenham, brought in the Dutch way in terms of the football. So as soon as he came in, I thought, oh, this might suit me. Unfortunately, he brought in a lot of players. 2 of them were central midfielders, and it just came to the point where I pretty much knew that I wasn't being offered a professional deal. At the time, it was very hard to take. I didn't think the players that came in, no offense to them, I didn't think they were better than me, but that's normal, it's life, it's football. So I had to make a decision very, very quickly. And we made the decision that I had to leave. At the time, there were numerous interests from clubs, and I recently just signed with an agent. He promised me certain things, so it made that decision to leave Fulham Football Club that bit easier. Looking back at it right now, whether it was the right decision or not, I'm not too sure, but like I said, I don't dwell on mistakes or the past. I move on, and that's what I've done. I moved on with him. First thing he done was take me to France straight away. To League 2 side at the time was Rennes. I was out there for 1 week, and when I say I was ripping it up that whole week, like training sessions, training matches, to the point where players were telling me, like, can you please take it easy on us? the barrier of not speaking and the manager not understanding me and me not understanding the manager, they went against offering me a deal. So I came back to London. I was training by myself for 3 weeks, and then Southampton Football Club come calling, and this is where I really knew that I had to take it to the next level. I had to step up my game even more than what I did out there in France. I remember training on a Monday, training on the Tuesday, doing very well, easing in. On the Wednesday we had a game against Reading. So on that Saturday, the big boys for Southampton got selected, the likes of Luke Shaw, James Ward-Prowse, Harrison Reed, and the latter two that I just mentioned. It was us three midfield against Chelsea, and we absolutely bossed it. It was crazy. I done very well. So on that Saturday after the game, I got told to go home, see my family. Agent came back again with very, very good news that, you know, they wanted to offer me a deal. Sunday, all day I was just preparing to go back to Staplewood on the Monday morning, and then I get a call by the agent. The deal was off. Just, you know, stay at home and I'll keep you in the loop of what's going to go on. So I tried to phone him, tried to message the agent. Nothing was going through. I don't know whether my number was blocked, whether he was deliberately not picking up, but I knew something was wrong. So the first thing I thought of was, let me get in contact with Fulham. I spoke to them. They said that they had nothing to do with it. They didn't ask for compensation or anything. Trying to reach out to the agent again, he's still not picking up. So this is where me and my dad storm over to his office in Croydon on the Monday morning. His secretary didn't let us in. We knew that something was fishy, was going up. Till eventually he picked up. And I said to him, like, what's going on? And at this point, I'm in tears. Like, I was maybe a couple of hours away from being offered a professional deal to all of a sudden being told to stay at home. It was, you know, it was a nightmare. I couldn't believe what was going on. He just basically, you know, said that the club didn't want me. And I found that hard to believe. After the week that I had over there, I found it very hard to believe. So I asked Fulham whether they could find out for me what was going on. A few contacts have basically come back and told me that the agent has asked for money underneath the table. The sum, I'm not sure how much, but it was something that put Southampton Football Club off the deal. And there we go. I'm another player that's gone the wrong way because of an agent. For another 6 months or so, I was just training by myself, and that was the weird part. From waking up every day, going on the same train, walking that same footpath, walking into the training ground, having your breakfast, having that morning session, all of that to then go to nothing. It was, you know, it was a big hit. At that local pitch, Paddington Rec, next to my house, is where I met a good friend of mine now, Reese Placid, who plays non-league, and at the time he was at Woking Football Club. He took me down to Woking. It was a National League club at the time, so it was 4 steps below what I was playing. They put me straight into the under 18s for a couple training sessions, and it was, in a nice way, it was too easy. We played a first team game, and a very bad injury happened where I done my meniscus in my left knee. The injury came at a wrong time for me. This was a big setback, knowing I've just left a Premier League club. Other Premier League clubs obviously still around. I thought, let me just get into the men's game so they could see me even further. I was out for 7.5 months. No physio, no rehab specialist like I was used to at Fulham Football Club. So making a recovery was all by myself. But the funny thing was, because I wasn't signed at the time with Woking Football Club, I had to go through the NHS to get my operation done. And I was on a waiting list for 9 months. It was a very hard moment in my life. My dad couldn't bear the thought of seeing me in that state. So he literally picked me up and he said to me, we're going to the hospital right now. My dad was making a big deal out of it. I did as well, to the point where the woman that was in charge of the bookings, the appointments for operations, she walked past the corridor and I was there crying, and she saw me there with crutches. Honestly, it was like God sent her down to me, because it was perfect time and perfect moment. told them my situation, that I'm an aspiring footballer. I need this operation to quickly start my recovery and get back to playing. She managed to fit me in 3 days later, and that's when my recovery began. I was out. I was in the gym every day after the 3-month period, strengthening my body to the point where I was a different Maz. I became a machine, a monster in a sense. It made me a better player and a better person. I learned a lot about myself during that period. I went back to Woking, but at the time, the first team manager didn't have any space for me, so I was just with the under 23s, their reserve team. I had a crazy goal to game ratio. I played 6 games, scored 9 goals. The manager, Mark Howard, was under 18s coach at Woking and also first team coach at Corinthian Casuals. And he obviously saw that I had a bit of talent and a bit about me. So he told me, why don't I, just to keep fit, step into the non-league game with Corinthian Casuals and, just build up my confidence again, build up my rep, my name, and move on from there. It was the last game of the season against Red Hill. I'll never forget it. And he said to me, Maz, you're ready now. And bearing in mind, I already joined them with 8 games left and they were fighting to be safe from relegation. And it was a big, important game against Red Hill. And I scored a screamer. And, from there, I cemented my place in that Corinthian Casuals. The fans loved me. I was lucky enough to have my own chant. I stayed with Corinthian Casuals for another season. I played the whole season, done very well. And one game in particular was a cup game against Hendon Football Club. Freddie Hyatt grabbed my dad after the game and he said, we like your son a lot. We'd like to sign him right there and then. Going into that next season, Hendon Football Club, that's where I done very, very well. I had a solid season with Hendon. I finished that season very well. A little problem broke out. I don't really want to talk too much about it. It was a problem with myself and the club captain at the time. Things like this happen in football. Miscommunication, problems, and it's just how you deal with it. So I decided, it's best if I step away. So I stepped out of Hendon Football Club. And the only real club that came calling for me was where they called the Super Match Chant, Corinthian Casuals. They had a lot of love for me. They just brought me back instantly. The manager told me, listen, you'll enjoy your football here. We've got a very, very big project lined up in terms of going out to Brazil to play against the first team of Corinthians, which we did in front of 65,000 fans, which was an amazing experience. That 90 minutes was like no other. The fans after the game, all wanting to hug me, all wanting my signature, chanting in Brazilian, we want Maz, we want Batash. And the chant, they created a hashtag, Batash no Timau, which basically meant we want to sign Maz. A lot of interest came in from top non-league clubs, and that's where Braintree Football Club came calling. I made a name for myself, scored a fantastic goal that went viral all over Twitter. We went through to the playoff final. Unfortunately, I didn't play. I was on the bench. But just to be a part of it and be a part of a winning team, to go through to the National League, was amazing. The manager left and then limited chances for me to play first team at Braintree Football Club. I was getting home very late at 1 a.m, then go and work the next morning. It was a bit too much for me. So I decided to leave Braintree Town. I almost wanted to quit football in a sense. I wanted to quit football. But, a manager came along in Anthony Gell at Wharton Casuals, who, put a lot of trust and faith in me. I built a very good relationship with the manager and he took over Staines Town. And now that's where I'm at. I'm now head coach and player at Staines Town. But in terms of the coaching side, I started my coaching badges with Fulham Football Club. I started very, very slowly in terms of pay and play sessions where they're community sessions. It was really good. I built my coaching profile up and I thought, let me start my own company. I started that in October 2018. I saw Rising Ballers and that's where everything started really now for me in terms of the coaching. I saw a post they put up on their social media looking for a game. At the time I had my Harrow Club under 21s. We were 7 games, 7 wins in the league, comfortably winning every team. I had the likes of Darius, Carlito, all these players that are now playing for Rising Ballers. And I just thought, you know what, let me pop up with a message and let me give them a game. We lost the game. I had a conversation with Jamie after the game, and he just said, you know, we'll stay in touch. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, oh yeah, it's another one that just likes my work but might not get in touch. We'll see how it goes. At these times, I wasn't desperate, but I wanted to, you know, prove myself. I knew that Rising Ballers had an amazing platform. All of a sudden, my phone rings. Jamie Pollitt. And you know what? I picked up very quickly. We had a little meeting. We met up at the Nando's on Tottenham Court Road. And, you know, they just shared with me their vision. The option was at the time to take over the Rising Ballers Academy. It was something I always wanted to do in terms of start my own academy. Slowly it picked up to the point where I wouldn't know whether what happened in the past or whatnot, but they just came back to me and said, you know what, we'll offer you the first team role. I took it with both hands. You know, I'd bite someone's hand off for that chance.
I'd like to introduce everyone to Morris. Some of you already know him.
Took the opportunity. I'll never forget it, man. From then onwards, it's all been a blur. Honestly, it's gone so quick. It sounds cliche, but it's been what, 4 months, best 4 months of my life at the moment. You know, being around amazing players, and you know what, we just collect W's, we collect wins wherever we go. Everyone, you know, in the streets knows who they know who we are. You know, we're hood celebrities in a nice way. For the right reasons. 16 wins or 17 wins, 100% record. We've had 5 players push for pro in our first season, which was amazing. For me to even have a glimpse or a little touch, or you know, like, of feedback or to help them in any way, for me to be able to do that and for them to go pro has been amazing. The owners, to the video men, in terms of Frosty and Now, in terms of like myself, the players, the supporters, everyone. Honestly, it's been a good journey so far, but it's just starting because it's only going to get bigger. Everyone knows what we're about. Everyone knows now what I'm about, and we just push from there and we'll see what's going on.